Hello, welcome to the very first episode of Sik'ar Reviews. Now, I gave it some thought of what cigar I should review. And one of my favorite cigars of this year that I've reviewed already is the San Cristobal XXL Papagayo. And this is how we pronounce it. The San Cristobal XXL Papagayo. Now, San Cristobal, how it's pronounced, is an island in the Galapagos, part of San Cristobal Canon in Ecuador. I think that's right. Yes, in Ecuador, which was a city founded, one of the oldest cities in the Galapagos Islands. It's also known as Chatham Island. And I don't know if you can see this, but that's fairly yellow. Decent age on this. There you go. That shows it pretty good. And there we go. It's an island composed of 3 to 4 dormant volcanoes. They actually are classified as extinct, which is actually kind of a cool fact. It is also the home of the parrot. Thus, Papagayo. Papagayo means parrot. I sound so weird trying to pronounce things in other languages. But this is a San Cristobal Papagayo XXL, which in other words basically means fat parrot. Which is really cool. It's also the very first island in which Darwin arrived and landed in 1835, and in 1880 San Cristobal Island was turned into a penal colony, and later it was turned into a military base for Ecuador. And it's, anyways, so that you can see. If this will focus, you can see there are some stems and seams. Now, this cigar is supposed to be a collaboration between Ashton Cigars and my father. It is blended by Jose Don Pepin Garcia, but if you actually look at the website where these are listed, they're usually listed mostly under Ashton's page. I have not checked the Garcia page. I better do that to get my facts straight. But, anyways, this is a Nicaraguan Corojo wrapper. With Nicaraguan long filler, and I assume a Nicaraguan binder. Now, I've smoked this already in Papagayo XXL twice to this point, and or maybe even 3 times, I don't even know. I'm using a hole punch from Monte Cristo Social Club. I want to be gentle here because I don't want to crack it. But I've also tried the Lancero, and honestly, to be truthful, the Lancero has far more flavor, and it's just a very stellar cigar. Got tobacco stuck here. So, anyways, I will get into the history of why I do what I do when I'm telling you these things. Now, we don't all smell our cigars, but kind of a minty chocolate scent coming from the wrapper. So often it'll really just smell like dirty feet, honestly, or stinky socks. Usually an earthy, hay-like smell. And there's sweetness and some mint kind of coming off the back end. Now, I'll get into that as I'm smoking this, because I'd like to fire this up. I don't want to take forever today to smoke a cigar. It's already taken me long enough to get all set up and everything. So, this fat parrot Really airy in the first puff. And there's an interesting, peculiar flavor. I can't put my finger on it. It's somewhere between kind of a grassy hay note and kind of a caramelish, sugary note. Very light, very fluffy kind of. I can't put a finger on the flavor. Not if I had to try to say something off one puff. My camera does not pick up smoke very well. More of that nice kind of creamy note flavor. So, anyways, where was I? Oh, yes. Now, I had mentioned earlier that the Vitola, here being a 60 ring gauge, that there's a different flavor between that and Lancero. And the reason for this is that the blenders oftentimes will take different amounts of the various different tobaccos to roll the smaller or larger sizes, either adding some more, removing some more of this. So you don't get the same equivalent of tobaccos that you get throughout the whole cigar. And that's the main reason why the Vitolas change in flavor. This might be loaded with Seco and Viso and have a small amount of Ligero in it, or Corona, and then you might end up with the Lancero having more Ligero, less Viso, and more Seco. So the flavors can change dramatically from one Vitola to another. It's something I've learned. So when I do these reviews, I'm going to do them based on the Vitola that I'm smoking. So this will be listed as the San Cristobal Papagayo XXL. Anyways, I will get to you at the halfway point of this, let you know how this progresses, and maybe even have some more history for you. Thanks. See you in a second. Hello, and welcome to the halfway point of the San Cristobal Papagayo XXL, or as I'd like to call it, the extra fat parrot. So, anyways, few little notes here before I get to what my thoughts are. This is blended by none other than Jose Don Pepin Garcia, as I said. He's a legend when it comes to cigars. Now, this is something most people don't realize, is he's fairly new to the market. In fact, a lot of people say Pete Johnson is one of the new kids on the block. I'm having flashbacks to my childhood. Anyways, in 2002, Pepin made his company El Rey de los Habanos Incorporated, which was based out of Miami. It was a small company, and he was doing blending primarily for other, cigar companies. And one day, now he wasn't blending by himself at this point. In fact, he had never blended by himself to this point. In fact, he was pretty much just rolling cigars for other people who had blended. Well, he was approached by Pete Johnson roughly in 2006, 2005. And Pete Johnson said, "Roll me a cigar, and I want to call it the Tatuaje." So Pepin set to work, and he created this cigar, and it was the first cigar that he made all by himself, blended. And it took off, and it hit cigar aficionado hard. The Tatuaje was a hit. It was successful. So Garcia said, "Oh wow, look at my success." So he goes out in 2006 and he invests and creates the Tabacalera Cubana SA and Esteli. The rest is essentially history. But most people don't realize Pete Johnson had Tatuaje before there was ever a My Father or any of his other brands. Now, he does come from a very long line of tobacco farmers and growers. He was doing import and export. So he wasn't exactly out of the cigar industry. He just wasn't blending. Now, he's a world famous blender, and people actually look for his cigars. And yet Pete Johnson's considered fairly new to the cigar industry. Well, I guess he is if he hasn't been doing all that work for all these years. Just a curious thought that you may not have known about. Anyways, as for the flavor profiles here, and I want to say here that your palate can change from time to time. You may not like a cigar now, and you might love it later. Or you might like it now and like it later, even better. Or you might like it today, tomorrow it's so-so, and the next day you love it. Flavor profiles can change. And part of that is based on the humidity. Not just that, it's the humidity in the room. Whether it's damp air, or whether you're stuffy and confined outdoors, whether you're in an area with all sorts of flowers, or you have incense going, or the dinner you cooked earlier, the dinner that's sitting on your palate if you haven't brushed, what type of toothpaste you use. All that stuff actually goes into effect on how a cigar tastes to you. Not only that, this, as I said, various vitolas have different amounts of things, and they could misjudge on this or that. Some could fall out, whatever. You might get a slightly different blend than the last blend, which was close to this blend, but it had more leather notes. Just wanted to make that clear in case somebody's seen my other Papagayo videos and said, this doesn't seem to be the same thing you have smoked before. Anyways, what I'm picking up here is basically in the background is leather predominant throughout. Maybe not in the background, but there are other flavors that are in the foreground. It's just leather seems to be the primary flavor. There is a slight fruity flavor that comes through here, and I couldn't tell you what it is. It's semi-sweet, and as I said, it's like a fruit sweetness, a fructose. And then there's some spice, like kind of in the earthier tones of like nutmeg and ginger and paprika. And it's blending very nicely together. In fact, part of the reason why I chose the Papagayo as the cigar that I wanted to review was the fact that, well, it's one of my favorite cigars I've smoked this entire year. And I knew that I'd be setting this off with a cigar that I actually really love. So, I will see you in the final third, and maybe I'll have some more interesting facts for you. I don't want to overdo them, though, because if I end up doing another My Father or a Jaime Garcia or something, I want some facts left. That way I always have something to share with you. Hello, and welcome back to the final third of this San Cristobal Papagayo XXL. Spanish words. I am so bad at those, so I apologize. Anyways, the leather notes have kind of come out much stronger in the final third here. Kind of has a grassy texture or grassy flavor to it. Kind of earthy. Very enjoyable. I really do like this Fat Parrot. And I don't really have any information for you in the final third because I do want to save stuff for other videos so that I'm never truly boring and never just a straight review. I mean, but if you want straight reviews, you can go to somebody else. I want to be able to do something different than anybody else. I want to make this channel something special so that y'all are going to want to come back to it. So, with all that said, please add and subscribe, leave questions, comments, feedback, and suggestions. I really would like suggestions because I do more than reviews, so if you want a topic covered, please let me know. It'll give me something to do. Anyways, with that said, please enjoy every puff.